Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, the main event here. And obviously for the title and thumbnail, I'm going to be talking about Ogerpon. I think this thing can be really good. Before we get into it, click like, favorite, subscribe if you're new. Question of the day, initial thoughts on the Teal Max DLC. Let's get right into it. So Ogerpon is like the premier Pokebot of the DLC. It's the one that the stories revolved around. It's the one that used to promote it, advertise it, cover everything. So Ogerpon is a grass type, Terra type grass. This is the base form of the Teal Mask, right? So this is the form where the advertised form with the Teal Mask, and it stays a grass type. It gets a speed boost when it terrestrializes, I believe. Also, the difference between this one and the other forms is that this one doesn't need to hold a mask, so it can also hold another item. This one's base signature ability, base ability is Defiant, which is already a really great ability, right? Because that means you can't be intimidated, and it is a physical attacker. I'm going to be switching between the game and Chrome for this, so you can see the stat distribution here. Base 120 physical attack, right? So that's a pretty good physical attack, especially considering you can't be intimidated because you have the divine ability. The moves here are what I want to look at first, too, not to mention, besides the ability, Ivy Sigil is actually incredibly cracked. This move is way too strong, but I'm okay with it. The user strikes with an Ivy wrapped Sigil. This move type changes depending on the mask worn by the user, right? So it's grass, water, fire, rock. So it gets a base 100 stab move depending on its form that doesn't miss, mind you, right? So it doesn't have recoil. So Woodhammer is a move that it gets, but Woodhammer has recoil. This does not. Moves like Stone Edge for rock types, which is like their strongest like rock stab, can miss, but this one cannot. For example, right? Flare Blitz for fire types. This is base 100, no recoil. And this is also like Wave Crash has recoil, Hydro Pump, stuff like that can miss. But like Ivy Sigil kind of just gets rid of all that, and it has a high chance of a crit. So it's base 100 before you multipliers. Then you can start counting stab, the fact that you Terra into your own type. And if you get the crit, it's going to be doing crazy amounts of damage. And it's actually really insane. Put some moves on it already. But like Stomping Tantrum and Spiky Shield are phenomenal moves. If you just go to its move list, you get some really good stuff. You do get Woodhammer if you want, right? Superpower, power up. You get Recovery and Synthesis. You get coverage and Throat Chop and low sweep. My apologies. If you want to do Leech Seed stuff, right? You can kind of be a little stalwart if you want. It also gets Follow Me. So why Follow Me is important is actually, I'll show you that right now. I'm going to go change the mask in real time for you guys. Oh, give to a Pokemon. My bad. So it does transform in right on screen for you. It goes into his little blue form. So now we're going to go back to it, right? Check summary. To the ability changes to Water Absorb. Follow Me, Water Absorb, and an Urshifu meta is actually really strong. Being able to redirect Surging Strikes is the counter you've all been waiting for because y'all have been complaining about Urshifu so much. So I want to see if it does get any other different moves because of this or not. Okay, it doesn't change the moves. It does get the Ivy Sigil though. It's Ivy Sigil changes to a water type stab. Also, let's go into the TM stuff. So this is the filterable TMs option, right? So you go to this, you pick your Pokemon. So you get stuff like Charm, which is a good support move. Trailblaze to boost your speed. And then you already have like the +1 from the Terra with the grass type at least. So they get different stat boosts depending on each one of the forms. Again, moves like Steady Face, Facade. Rock Tomb if you want like some flying coverage, which I don't know if you need on it particularly. And if you're using the rock one, you don't need that at all. You just use the signature move. It gets like moves like Endure. It does get the weathers, but I don't think you use these as your weather setters because you have like Tornadus and other prankster users for weather. It does get Bullet Seed, which is interesting because on the grass form you could do like loaded dice Bullet Seed, and essentially it's the same base power because you're always going to get 4, and you also get the advantage of breaking focus sasses or like breaking substitutes and then still getting damage down. So this is something that you could use. Now, with the crit chance, the other one's probably stronger, but with the chances to get 5 hits here versus the crit chance, this might also have a niche where it's still stronger than the other one. So yeah, it's a good option for sure, specifically for the grass one. It does get Stomping, as I showed you on the thing, which is good, right? Because grass doesn't hit everything; it doesn't hit like fire. Stomping Tantrum is good for that. Stomping Tantrum is really good for all of them, considering like, oh, you know what? Let's change the mask. I'll tell you why Stomping Tantrum is really good. All right, so we are giving the Heart Flame mask, and we're going to transform into a fire type. So the fire type, what's so special about the fire type besides obviously the base 100 fire stab? This one gets Mold Breaker. What this means is that Ivy Sigil or any of its like any fire move you use can hit Pokemon that have Flash Fire. Specifically Heatran. So like a combination of Stomping Tantrum plus the Ivy Sigil move means you can like hit stuff like Heatran for super effective if they don't Terra. And if it Terra Grass, you can still hit it with a fire move for super effective because Mold Breaker ignores Flash Fire. That's actually insane. And it's like that's really, really strong. That's so strong. So like two of the strongest Pokemon in the format, Heatran and Urshifu. This Pokemon has a good matchup depending on the type you use into both of them. And I think that makes for like a healthy meta when like there are really strong Pokemon and there are also things that can have a good matchup into those strong Pokemon, right? I think that's something that really makes like a really, really strong metagame. And I think Regulation E will be better for it. Let me show you guys the next mask. So I'm going to give it the Cornerstone mask. I'm going to give it that. You can see it changes into this little black jacket. Shout out to Hell's Kitchen. So this one, the ability that it gets is Sturdy. This one, when you terrestrialize, I'm pretty sure you get you get a defense boost with this one. Yeah, you get a defense boost, right? And why that's really important is because you can play this thing in like sand. You get a defense boost when you Terra, and then you get a special defense boost when you have the sand up. So now this thing becomes like incredibly bulky. And then like if you do have something that could knock it out in one shot, it does have Sturdy. If you aren't terrestrialized, that's an important note. When you do terrestrialize, your ability changes to the other one. I forgot what it's called. That gives you a stat increase. So you have to be careful when you're clicking your Terra on this Pokemon because you will lose your original ability. So like you'll lose Water Absorb, you'll lose Mold Breaker, you'll lose Sturdy, you'll lose Defiant. But for the most part, I think having two abilities gives you great flexibility, I should say. So I do want to hop over here again. The stats. So I think the stats are actually pretty good. Base 110 speed, like I know, like Flutter Mane exists. Flutter Mane exists. Bundle, Alecki, stuff like that exists. But I don't think it's that big of a deal, right? Because this thing's defense is actually pretty good. 96 special defense, and 80 HP makes me feel like you could easily invest yourself to live like Specs Moonblast. Because Pokemon that are weaker can invest into living that. Maybe with they probably need like an Assault Vest, but I think with base 96, you can definitely invest in that. Base 84 and 80 is good. And not to mention, because of the flexibility of changing the type, I think you can specifically EV your Pokemon to live certain things that you're trying to get using those type resistances and those type weaknesses and those type advantages. Like for example, if you use the fire type, maybe you don't need to invest as much because you already resist Moonblast because you're a fire type, right? And Shadow Ball doesn't do as much as Moonblast does, especially because most Flutter Mane are like Terra Fairy. 110 speed is really flexible. It's really flexible, right? Because you can use this speed to its max, try to outspeed other Ogerpon. You could just use a little bit less to outspeed like base 100s or like base 103s, 105s, like whatever you want to outspeed. 110 is also high enough that I bet you could even run like an Adamant Nature and outspeed other stuff that is slower, like Urshifu. I bet you could outspeed like stuff like Urshifu currently because they're not really running Jolly Max speed. Definitely will outspeed stuff like Rillaboom. A ton of options here. And its special attack is not great, but it's meant to be a physical attacker. Like we mentioned, Ivy Sigil is a physical move anyway. I don't think it really gets any special moves that you'd want to use for the most part with that stat. Yeah, special attack 60 is terrible. That's terrible. I think it's like Solar Beam. Who cares about that, right? Like Leaf Storm is cool, but none of these moves that it gets here are essentially better than Ivy Sigil. None of them even come close. Like maybe Woodhammer because it's like a higher base power. It's by 20 points, but I would drop the 20 points to get the to not have any recoil any day of the week. And the crit chance makes it stronger. If you crit Ivy Sigil, you get more damage than Woodhammer anyway. So I just don't understand why you would ever run that. Personally, I would just be like Ivy Sigil, Stomping Tantrum, Spiky Drill in a fourth move. I don't know what the fourth one would be. Maybe Swords Dance. It does get access to Swords Dance, so I think that's what I would do, is run Swords Dance. Yeah, I'm right over here. Where did I just scroll by? Oh, you can't see it because I have the stupid thing block. So let me fix that for you guys. Look at this real-time stuff. So it gets access to Swords Dance. So I think that's what I would do. I would go like Swords Dance, Stomping Tantrum, Ivy Sigil, Spiky Shield, and just try to get Swords Dance up and blow stuff up for a no drawback base 100 stab move that can crit at +2. And then Terrasilize, get a +1 and whatever stat you need, and then just keep going crazy. This Pokemon is actually really good. The other ones, the Trio Legend, the Logo 3, whatever they're called, they're not as great. Well, I'm going to review them in more detail before I make that assumption. But this one's definitely really good in my opinion, because like I said, it gets that follow me Water Absorb. It gets a fire type Mold Breaker type move. It gets a defense boosting rock type that can also take advantage of sand. A grass type that can't be intimidated. So you can essentially hit like Arcanine, Hisui Arcanine with Stomping Tantrum or Wood Hammer or Ivy Sigil. When it comes in, when Incineroar is legal, this thing could still play into it, right? It's not completely crippled by Incineroar. Gyarados could be a bit of a problem, but Gyarados is part water. So you can still probably get the +1 Ivy Sigil. Probably does a ton of damage to Gyarados too. So yeah, this Pokemon, all in all, will be very strong, bordering broken in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think of this Pokemon in the comments. Do you think I'm off base? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think it's actually not that strong? I think it is. I think it will be. If you disagree, let me know. If you agree, let me know. And if I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.